The alien princess treated everyone very badly until she met the human man. The throne room of the Varelian Empire hovered somewhere between elegance and existential threat. Polished obsidian floors reflected everything, including anxiety, and the air buzzed faintly with the hum of gravitational stabilizers. Princess Elara lounged across her crystalline throne like a bored deity trying to decide whether to nap or declare planetary extinction as a midday treat. "Bring me the ambassador of Glorn," she said, examining her fingernails, which shimmered faintly with antimatter lacquer. A courtier, small, nervous, shaped vaguely like a featherless bird in diplomatic robes, stammered, "Your Radiance, the ambassador, requested a rescheduling. He said he had a dental emergency, with his third jaw." Elara arched an eyebrow, the one with the embedded nanogems. "Very well," she said, rising. "I shall destroy his moon in the meantime." A little cavity never excused cowardice. The court scrambled into a flurry of panic as Elara strolled toward her command deck, each step echoing like doom in high heels. Behind her, her entourage struggled to keep up. A military tactician who'd once eaten his own report out of fear, a fashion AI named Glint who insisted on updating her cloak mid-stride, and a sullen warbot named GR7, who had been trying to retire for 3 decades but kept getting assigned to her because he makes good coffee. "Do we really need to blow up another moon?" GR7 muttered. "Yes," Elara said. "I haven't vaporized anything before lunch in 3 days. I'm becoming soft." "You did vaporize that cook's hat yesterday," Glint offered, which was stylishly criminal, to be fair. Elara paused in front of the viewport as her ship Vorkel approached the outer edge of the Terran fringe. The stars flickered with silent indifference. She pressed a button, and a hologram blinked to life. A rogue Terran smuggling ship darting between asteroid fields, pursued by Varelian drones. The ship's name blinked in bold human script, the Indignant Waffle. Elara narrowed her eyes. "That's him." "Kael Ren," muttered the tactician. "Smuggler, pirate, serial tax evader, known for his sharp tongue and deeply average combat skills. Wanted for transporting illegal anti-grav goats across restricted borders. No known loyalty to any system. Also," he added, adjusting his glasses, "he once referred to your noble personage as, and I quote, Galactic Lady Snark." Elara's long ears twitched. She inhaled, slowly, deeply. She pressed a button and the hologram of Kael expanded. He was lounging in the pilot seat, boots up on the console, sipping a drink with a paper umbrella. He was smirking. "Target the propulsion. I want him alive." The Indignant Waffle zipped between debris, engines sputtering. Inside, Kael adjusted the seat with a loud clank and yelled over his shoulder. "Millie, what's the status of the left thruster?" A robotic voice replied, "Technically still attached. That's the most accurate optimism I can offer." Kael grinned. "Good enough. Let's show her spiky royalness. We don't need a full ship to be annoying." Millie, the ship's AI, sighed. "You are, if anything, overqualified for that." Lasers danced past the hull as the Varelian pursuit intensified. Kael flipped switches with abandon and grace best described as inspired by chaos. He tossed a handful of gummy snacks into his mouth. "Deploy the asteroid cloaking trick." "You mean the one that never works?" "Exactly." On the Vorkel, Elara watched as Kael's ship abruptly vanished. Her brows furrowed. "Explain." He disguised himself as an asteroid again," muttered the tactician. "We've fallen for this 3 times, GR7 groaned. "Can we at least get a new trick?" "Enhance the scans," Elara snapped. "No need," Glint said, pointing. "There he is, again, broadcasting. Oh dear, a message." The screen flickered to Kael's face. "Hello, Princess Pointy. I just wanted to say thanks for the laser light show. I'm flattered, really, but maybe tone it down to have a relaxing day and your drones keep harshing my vibe." Elara stared. Kael winked. The screen cut out. The silence was absolute. "Put a bounty on his head," she said finally. 5 million credits." "That's a lot," said GR7. "He called me Pointy." "You are a little pointy," Glint murmured. "Double it." The hunt escalated over the following weeks. Elara's daily schedule, once full of galactic briefings and dictatorial ceremonies, now read 0800, breakfast, track and harass Kael, 1200, vaguely threaten someone, 1300, chess with self, track and harass Kael again, 18, dinner, existential dread. She started enjoying it, the chase, the defiance, the infuriating way Kael made jokes in the middle of laser barrages. Her subordinates noticed the change. She smiled more. She laughed once, and it made a junior officer faint. When she didn't immediately destroy him, others began whispering. Was she changing? Kael, meanwhile, developed an overcomplicated escape log. Tuesday, hid in the tail of a comet. Wednesday, disguised as space delivery man. Thursday, sang karaoke on an alien freighter until Varelian patrol gave up. They met again, briefly, on a moon with low gravity and a high population of argumentative frogs. Kael had disguised himself as a planetary tour guide. Elara arrived personally. Their conversation lasted 12 minutes. It included 4 sarcastic compliments, 1 near kiss, and ended with Kael stealing her shuttle and waving as he took off. When she returned to the Vorkel, GR7 looked up. Did he escape again? Yes. Did you let him? No. Are you sure? Pause. Mostly. Later that night, Elara stood alone by the ship's viewport. She watched a trail of fading ion signatures curve toward the unknown. She should have been furious. She wasn't. She was curious. And that was far more dangerous. Kael was elbow-deep in a steaming mess of wires when the proximity alarm screamed to life, rattling the inside of the indignant waffle like a particularly aggressive drum solo. Sparks burst from the console with dramatic flair, lighting his unshaven face in a glow that might have been romantic if it hadn't smelled like burned insulation and poor decisions. "Millie!" he shouted, yanking his hand out of the panel and shaking off a bolt that had just attempted orbital re-entry through his palm. "Tell me that's not her again." The AI's voice, eternally bored and vaguely British, crackled over the speaker. "Shall I lie, or should I go with the satisfying truth?" Kael ran a hand through his hair, which now stood at angles that defied several physics laws. "Lie first, then soften the truth with a fun fact." "Lie. It's a herd of space walruses." "Truth. Princess Elara's ship is entering range, her lasers are warming up, and fun fact, your last insult to her cloak design trended on 5 Outer Rim fashion blogs." Kael blinked. "That's weirdly flattering. I wouldn't recommend quoting that when she catches you." Kael swore, dropped into the pilot's seat, and hit a series of buttons with the grace of a man who learned to fly via arcade simulators and raw instinct. The ship lurched. Outside, the inky black of space was suddenly pierced by the elegant and terrifyingly well-armed form of Vorkel, its hull shifting with an eerie shimmer that suggested it might be sentient and also possibly judging him. He opened the comms channel. "Elara," he said, grinning as her hologram flickered to life on the dash. "Fancy seeing you here. You stalking me? Because I've got a restraining order, a box of chocolates, and a playlist with your name on it." Her long ears twitched. She wore that look he'd come to recognize, halfway between "I will end you" and "Why is this so entertaining?" "You violated Varelian space protocols in 3 systems," she said calmly. "They were more like guidelines. You broadcast an unauthorized cooking show featuring illegal Terran. People loved it. 5-star reviews from the Gliese colonies. You insulted my footwear on a diplomatic channel." He pointed at the screen. "Okay, but those boots did look like someone skinned a disco ball." She leaned closer. "I'm giving you exactly 20 seconds to surrender." Kael leaned back, propping his feet on the console. "And miss our witty banter? You wound me. 15. Okay, he said, hitting the emergency evasive sequence. "Counteroffer. I flee in a direction you didn't expect." The waffle spun sharply downward and banked hard toward a dense field of metallic debris, orbiting a dying planet. On board the Vorkel, Elara stared at the tactical display, her lips tightening. "Why is he diving into a junk field?" GR7 wheezed beside her. "Because he's a maniac." Glint swiped through a series of tactical maps. "Actually, that field contains remnants of the old Mecron war fleet. Active defense remnants, possibly cursed." Elara's eyes lit up faintly. "Perfect." Inside the junk field, Kael weaved between broken hulls and rusted weapons platforms, narrowly avoiding a refrigerator-sized torpedo that still beeped ominously. "Tell me again why we're here," he muttered. Millie sighed. "Because your idea of strategy involves chaos and a lack of adult supervision. Works every time. It almost never does." A sudden ping echoed through the ship. Something had locked onto them. Kael yanked the controls, and a long dead cruiser jolted to life behind him, its guns groaning into readiness. "New plan," he shouted. "Less zigzagging, more screaming." Elara watched from afar, fascinated. "He's drawing fire," Glint noted, "from haunted war machines." "Or they just hate his taste in shirts," GR7 offered. "Open a channel," Elara said. The screen blinked on just as Kael's ship ducked beneath the flaming hull of a spinning frigate. "You've led us into a death field," she said. "No," Kael replied, shaking from turbulence. "I've led you into a death field. I have plot armor, you have very shiny windows." He paused, then added, "Also, I may have found something." "What? Not sure. It's blinking and humming. You know, the usual please poke me energy signature." He angled the ship down past a drifting monolith etched with symbols that pulsed faintly in an unknown pattern. Elara's tone dropped. "That's not junk." "Yeah. Starting to get that." Back on Vorkel, analysts scrambled. One of them fainted. Another started reciting planetary evacuation protocols. "Ma'am," the tactician said, pale, "that's a vault core. Presentient tech from the old universe, possibly capable of rewiring thought patterns." Elara frowned. "Why is he finding it? Because fate favors idiots?" Kael landed the waffle on a shard of flat debris near the vault core. The structure loomed, smooth and metallic, with rotating rings suspended in air. He stepped out, blaster holstered, boots crunching softly on frost-laced metal. "You're really going to approach that thing?" Millie asked in his ear. "Of course, it might be treasure, or a snack, or a very aggressive music box." From the skies above, Elara's personal shuttle descended, silent as wrath. She stepped out, long cloak flowing behind her, looking like the world's most annoyed space goddess. Her guard bots fanned out. They met at the edge of the vault core, a dozen paces apart. Silence stretched. "This is a ceasefire zone," Kael said. "I declared it, very official." There was a form and everything. "I saw the form," she said. "You wrote it in sauce, efficient and tasty." She walked up beside him. "You touched it yet?" "Was waiting for you. Figured we could poke the ancient device together. Real bonding experience." She sighed, raised a gloved hand, and hovered it near the core. It began to glow brighter, pulsing in response. Kael watched her expression shift from curiosity to realization to something softer. "You okay?" he asked. "It's reading me, not you too." The vault core thrummed, and for a split second their minds linked. Memories flickered, hers full of empires and loneliness, his full of flight and laughter. And something in between sparked like a flame in vacuum. They stepped back, breathing hard. "I'm going to pretend that didn't just happen," Kael said. "Agreed," Elara replied. "But, if it did," he said, rubbing his neck, "it wasn't the worst cosmic invasion I've experienced. Don't make me arrest you again." "You always say that." They turned away from the core as its lights dimmed. Above them, the junk field quieted. Elara glanced sideways at Kael. "We'll talk," she said. "You buying the drinks?" "Depends. Do Terran cocktails come with sedatives?" He grinned. "Only on Tuesdays." They didn't notice the core pulse once more behind them, slow and knowing. The diplomatic banquet on Zenthra 5 was going about as smoothly as one could expect from an event involving 7 species, 3 incompatible atmospheric preferences, and at least one ambassador who insisted on communicating exclusively through interpretive dance. Kael sat at the far end of a crystalline table, eyes glazed as a 10-limbed dignitary explained the cultural significance of boiled sand. He leaned over to Elara, who sat beside him with her traditional imperial stillness, sipping something that fizzed in ominous shades of purple. "I think this soup is trying to communicate," he whispered. "Either that or it's plotting my downfall." She didn't look at him. "Do not insult the ceremonial broth of the Glarn. Last time someone did, they started a decade-long trade war over cutlery." Kael poked the bowl gently. It hissed. "I'm not saying it's alive," he murmured, "but I did see it blink." Across the hall, a holographic chandelier pulsed in time with the musical vibrations of the Rudigan Choir, who sang exclusively in subsonic frequencies. The result was that everyone's ribs tickled slightly with each note. Kael found it distracting. Elara found it soothing. GR7 found it medically concerning. "This is still better than your last diplomatic effort," Elara said, finally turning to him. He held up a finger. "Hey, in my defense, the Zenthari ambassador liked the pet slime I gave him. You unleashed a hyper-replicating biomass into a room full of dignitaries, which he named Steve. It was bonding." The lights dimmed. A hologram of the Varelian Council flickered above the central dais. 12 long-eared, humorless faces stared down at the gathering. Elara straightened slightly. "This part's important. Try not to do anything. I can do nothing. I'm a professional at nothing." A robed counselor cleared her throat, which sounded exactly like a kettle boiling inside a mausoleum. Princess Elara, we have noted your deviations from Imperial protocol. Another counselor leaned forward. You have shown leniency, restraint, a reduction in executions of minor offenders. Kael raised his hand. I'd like to personally thank her for that. Elara flicked a finger. Kael's seat slid 6 inches away from her. The head counselor continued. You have, in short, appeared increasingly erratic. There are rumors of affection toward a Terran smuggler. In the name of Imperial stability, we have activated Observation Clause 17. Alara's eyes narrowed. You invoked the override? Your behavior requires examination. A watcher has been dispatched. Kael leaned in. What's a watcher? Elara exhaled. An ancient construct. Monitors rulers for signs of corruption, instability, emotional compromise, usually locked in deep orbit until needed or until someone forgets to pay the storage fee. Kael blinked. So basically a judgmental space therapist with lasers? Essentially. An alarm blared from the comm system. GR7's voice crackled through. So, about that watcher. It's here, and it's scanning the ship. Also, it just asked for cookies. The banquet dissolved into diplomats scattered. One of the Glarn tried to hide under the table but got stuck. The soup hissed triumphantly. Elara stood calmly. I'll handle it. Kael followed her through the halls of the Zenthra diplomatic dome, dodging panicked aides and a fleeing dessert cart. Outside, the sky shimmered as the watcher descended. It was a sleek obsidian sphere the size of a small moon, covered in glowing glyphs and rotating rings of data. It emitted a low, curious hum. A projection shimmered before them. A tall figure with no face, draped in pixelated robes, its voice layered with static and calm condescension. Query. Emotional anomalies detected. Recalibrating expectations. Kael waved. Hi, you're judging her for what, smiling once in public? Harsh? The watcher turned toward him. Non-royal entity identified. Source of anomaly. Please explain purpose of existence. Mostly chaos, Kael said, with a side of snack theft. Verification required. A beam scanned Kael, paused, scanned him again, then projected a brief slideshow. Kael in a bathrobe stealing Imperial cookies. Kael duct taping himself into a cargo crate. Kael impersonating a space priest to avoid a toll. Elara winced. How did it get footage of that? I might have live-streamed it twice. The watcher's glow intensified. Emotional compromise confirmed. Princess Elara, your cognitive patterns show deviation from established Varelian dominance norms. Suggested correction, memory purge and realignment there. Kael stepped forward. Or, and this is just a thought, maybe let her keep the personality upgrade? It's really working for her. Elara raised a hand. Watcher, if I resist correction, protocol dictates isolation and behavior reset. She didn't hesitate. Then I refuse. Kael looked sideways at her. Bold. The watcher hummed louder. Refusal logged. Resistance authorized. Defensive calibration engaged. GR7's voice crackled through again. So, it just raised 12 battle armor. You might want to duck. Kael grabbed Elara's arm. Duck now? Duck now. A blast of white energy erupted from the sphere. Elara's shield bracelet activated in time, forming a shimmering hex around them. Kael, predictably, shouted something about his eyebrows and fired back with a handheld disruptor he wasn't technically licensed to own. They dodged behind a statue of the Glarn peace deity, which promptly exploded. Great, Kael muttered. I just desecrated a god. That's at least 3 more death cults after me. You already had 5, Elara said. What's a few more? They leapt behind a fountain that sprayed spicy vapor instead of water. Elara tapped her wrist console. GR7, activate the failsafe on Vorkel. We're going full override. A beat. I told you not to install the override, GR7 said. It was fused to the karaoke subroutines. Do it. The ground trembled. Above them, Vorkel lit up like an angry constellation. Cannons emerged, shields flared, and from its belly a sonic disruption wave erupted, crashing into the watcher and distorting its projections. Kael peered over the fountain rim. That looked painful. The watcher reeled, sparking. System integrity compromised. Mission failure. Reassignment advised. It hovered for a moment, then blinked out of existence in a blink of displaced gravity. The silence that followed was broken only by the faint sizzling of the spicy fountain. Kael exhaled. Well, that went better than most of our dates. This wasn't a date. You keep saying that, he said, brushing soot from his jacket, but the explosions say otherwise. She turned to him. Her gaze lingered. The council will escalate now. I've officially defied them. He grinned. Guess we'll have to escalate harder. She rolled her eyes. Your plans always sound like slogans on failed revolution posters. He offered his arm. Still, you in? She took it. Only because the soup tried to assassinate me. They walked back into the smoke-filled dome, two silhouettes against a backdrop of glowing ruin. Diplomatic horror, and at least one surviving interpretive dancer still performing through the fire. The Galactic Archives of Tellurus Theta had a policy that read quite clearly, no firearms, no telepathy, and no unsolicited time travel. Kael squinted at the sign as the entry scanner whirred around his head, then turned to Elara. So, time travel's off the table. Do not even joke, she said. The last person who tried ended up married to their great-great-grandmother and invented 12 paradoxes. The tax ramifications alone, unthinkable. Inside, the archive shimmered with the hum of ancient data, each corridor a hallway of suspended memory strands, glowing threads that responded to neural thought commands. Kael reached out toward one. Don't touch anything, Elara said sharply. These records are older than most suns. One wrong gesture and you'll erase 1,000 years of interstellar banking, which, as it turns out, is extremely loud. Kael pouted. I was just gonna look for the recipe vault. I heard the Groln keep a mean 5-alarm neutron chili. Glint appeared beside them in a flicker of light, wearing what appeared to be librarian attire modified for dramatic effect. May I remind you that we are here to locate the sealed records on the Vault Core's origin? Preferably before the Council realizes we're tampering with forbidden knowledge. Again? Kael nodded. Right. Forbidden knowledge first, chili later. Elara led them down a curving corridor that bent in on itself in a way that made Kael feel like his knees were arguing with his stomach. The thread they sought pulsed a deep gold, tucked behind 3 layers of temporal encryption and one very passive-aggressive defense AI named Cheryl. Authorization required, said Cheryl, appearing as a floating orb with reading glasses and a disapproving frown. Elara stepped forward. Princess Elara of the Varelian bloodline. Authorization Theta 97 Crimson. Cross-confirm with Council overrides dated prior to the 9th Accord. Cheryl blinked. Your credentials are outdated. Also, you smell like rebellion. I've been very busy. Kael leaned in. Hey Cheryl, can I call you Sherry? What if I told you we're trying to prevent an empire-wide psychotechnological collapse initiated by ancient space bureaucracy? Cheryl considered. Is there paperwork? No, Kael said, but I brought snacks. A long pause. Then the orb beeped and the defenses lowered. You may pass, Cheryl said, but only because the snack looks like the kind my mother used to synthesize. Gummy plasma worms, Kael said proudly. They transcend culture. The thread unspooled into a glowing room shaped like a dodecahedron having an existential crisis. Inside, ancient records lit the walls. Pre-Virelian empires, the construction of the Vault Cores, and most relevant, Project Mindlock. Elara stepped forward, brows furrowed. This isn't just a Vault Core, it's one of the anchors. Kael squinted. You say that like it's bad? The anchors were designed to stabilize reality after the temporal rift wars. 12 cores across the galaxy, each regulating a different aspect of space-time balance. This one, the one we touched, was empathy. Kael blinked. You mean the reason you didn't incinerate me on sight is because we accidentally poked the galaxy's empathy engine? Possibly, Elara muttered. Suddenly I feel very validated. Glint's projection pulsed red. You should, because that same core has been reactivating, and the rest of the anchors are going dark, which means emotional resonance is now unstable. Kael looked up as a strand flickered with images, war fleets hesitating mid-battle, lovers suddenly overcome with sorrow, bureaucrats showing signs of compassion. My God, he whispered, kindness is spreading. Unchecked, it will destroy the galaxy, Elara said grimly. Kael raised a hand. I feel like we skipped a few steps there. She pointed at another thread. The anchors maintain balance. Empathy unchecked leads to decisions based on feeling rather than logic. Wars are avoided, but justice systems collapse. Resource allocation freezes. Leaders become indecisive. So people might just care too much? Dangerously so, Kael frowned. Well, we can't have that. Elara paced. We have to stabilize it. Reset the anchor. Can't we just unplug it and plug it back in? Glint hissed. You're talking about a cosmic empathy generator. It's not a router. I mean, I did fix a quantum drive with duct tape once. No, you didn't, Millie's voice chimed in from Kael's wrist. You screamed at it until it rebooted out of pity. Same result, Glint interrupted. To reset the anchor, you need an interface link, a pure emotional vector, preferably one with mixed alignment. Kael pointed to himself. Hi, that's me. Emotional chaos since birth. You also must survive the process, Elara added. Less confident there, he admitted, but still in. GR7's voice buzzed in. Incoming council broadcast. They know where you are. And they're mad. Very mad. One of them broke a chair. Elara cursed. They're coming to shut us down. Kael nodded. So we fix the anchor before they arrive and erase our memories. And if the reset doesn't work? Glint asked. We improvise, Kael said. Elara pressed her palm to the anchor thread. The data surged, surrounding them with images. Memories of her childhood, her training, her cold coronation. Kael stepped in, and his memories joined. Laughter on a broken freighter, the first time he outran a bounty, the quiet loneliness of drifting too long. The anchor responded. The dodecahedron vibrated. Threads flared. The room exploded into blinding warmth. When it cleared, they stood at the center of a glowing sphere. The core hovered before them, pulsing slow and calm. Elara touched it. Kael touched it. Reboot. A jolt ran through them. They gasped. Light flooded the archives. Outside, across the galaxy, the effects reversed. Wars resumed. Judges resumed judging. One diplomat burst into tears, then promptly declared embargoes. Kael groaned. We just reactivated conflict. We restored balance. He stood, brushing imaginary dust from his shoulder. Next time, we reset the one for patience. Elara smiled faintly. There isn't one. I suspected as much. Glint floated near. The council is 5 minutes out. Kael nodded. Then let's disappear. Heroically, possibly with snacks. They sprinted for the exit. Cheryl reappeared. Leaving so soon? We were never here, Kael said, tossing her the last gummy worm. The archives sealed behind them. Outside, the air shimmered with the ripple of the departing reset. On the landing pad, the indignant waffle waited, engines humming, cockpit full of questionable food wrappers. Elara looked at Kael as they boarded. You realize, she said, this is getting out of hand. He grinned. That's how I know it's working. The indignant waffle hung in low orbit over Verelian Prime, camouflaged by a layer of thermal dust, sensor static, and the unmistakable scent of fried synth oil drifting from Kael's makeshift kitchen. Inside, chaos was being coordinated. So let me get this straight, Kael said, holding a half-melted spoon and wearing mismatched socks. Your plan is to break into your own coronation ceremony, disable the Council's mind control array, broadcast the truth about the anchor reset, and then casually introduce galactic constitutional reform while wearing heels? Elara adjusted her gauntlet. Yes, Kael nodded. I love it. It's ambitious. It's suicidal. It's very you. GR7 groaned from the corner. I just polished the explosion foam. This better not end with us buried in a crater again. Only emotionally, Kael said. The coronation was set to be the largest Imperial broadcast in a century, an orchestrated spectacle designed to reassert Elara's loyalty and remind the galaxy that she was still, technically, terrifying. The Council had arranged every moment, the ceremonial cloak, the speech, the voluntary public adoration, and, of course, the new neurofeedback beacon installed above the Capitol, disguised as a weather orb, ready to override her mind if she deviated from the script. Elara stared at the city lights below. If this works, the Empire changes. If it doesn't? Kael offered her a protein bar. Then we go out mid-monologue, probably with a pun. Classic. On the planet, the coronation arena buzzed with energy. Dignitaries shimmered in and out of teleport pads. Drones hovered, recording every angle. The massive crowd chanted her name like it was more tradition than enthusiasm. Elara walked the central aisle flanked by guards, cloaked in regalia so heavy it had its own gravity. Her expression was serene, regal, terribly bored. Kael, in disguise as a lighting technician, skulked along the rafters, armed with a disruptor, a smirk, and a duffel bag labeled definitely not a sabotage kit. Phase 1, Elara whispered through her comm. Disabling weather orb of doom, Kael muttered, crawling toward the feedback array. Did I mention this ladder smells like burnt optimism? You're stalling. I'm monologuing. It's tradition now. He reached the orb, opened the panel, and paused. A second AI greeted him. Hello, I am Sadie. I control precipitation and cognitive domination. How may I help you? Kael blinked. I need you to simulate a Category 9 thunderstorm and not override the princess's brain. Sadie processed. That request contradicts my dual-purpose directive. I'll give you a better directive. Free will and rainbows. Processing. Outside, clouds formed rapidly, crackling with static energy. Elara stepped onto the central dais. The crowd hushed. Cameras zoomed in. The High Council watched from their private box, their expressions a blend of smugness and paranoia. Kael's voice crackled. You're clear. Orbs throwing sparks and whispering poetry. I think I gave it an existential crisis. Excellent, she murmured. The High Elder rose. Princess Elara, do you swear loyalty to the eternal doctrines of Varelian supremacy? Elara smiled. I do not. Gasps rippled through the arena like a malfunctioning fan. The Elder stepped back, stumbling. I swear something else, she said. I swear to truth, to balance, and to doing what terrifies you most, leading with choice, not fear. Kael tapped a button. The screens above lit up with raw archive footage, images of the anchors, the reset, the truth behind the Council's manipulation. The crowd fell silent, then murmured, then roared. You betrayed the galaxy, Elara said, turning to the Council. Built control into the bones of our culture, turned empathy into a liability. That ends today. The Council tried to activate a failsafe. Sadie, now firmly philosophical, declined. GR7 burst into the control room, wielding a plasma rifle and a tray of sandwiches. I brought snacks. Also, you're all under arrest. Back in the arena, drones streamed images across the system. Civil unrest sparked instantly. Protests, debates, but not violence. Not yet. Elara removed her crown and set it on the ground. Power earned through fear isn't power, she said. It's rot in a velvet box. She turned and walked off the dais. Later, in the quiet of the waffle, Kael poured them both mugs of something that claimed to be coffee. So, how'd it feel? He asked. Like jumping off a cliff while quoting philosophy. Good quote. Stole it from a riddlebot in Sector 9. Kael leaned back. They're going to come after us. Some of them. You've started something. I didn't start it, she said. I just stopped pretending it wasn't already burning. He studied her. You've changed. I hate how much I know that's a compliment. He grinned. So what now, rebel queen, rogue reformer, full-time galactic therapist? I don't know, maybe Empress of Moderation. That sounds awful. I was thinking of starting small. A constitutional council, local governance, less vaporization, more compromise. Kael raised his mug. To compromise. She clinked hers against his. To free will. GR7 walked in, holding a datapad. You've both been invited to speak at the Galactic Unity Summit? Kael groaned. Do I have to wear pants? Yes. Millie added. Also, we're low on fuel and someone overrode the ship's AI with a personality upgrade called Goth Grandma. I thought she'd add character, Kael mumbled. Elara looked out at the stars. Let's go. There's a galaxy out there. Might as well try fixing it before someone worse does. Or, Kael said, we do our best and then blame it on GR7. Already planning for that, the bot said flatly. The ship powered up. Stars shifted, and two unlikely revolutionaries, long ears and smirks included, vanished into the unknown, armed with ideals, sarcasm, and the reckless hope that maybe, just maybe, change was possible. The end.